invited together on Agri TV once again. Today we have a guest from Egypt, Associate Professor Osama Ahmed. He is currently working in Leibniz Institution of Agricultural Development in Germany, but he's full-time Associate Professor at University of Cairo. So please welcome. I would like to talk to you about the future of wheat supply chain of Egypt.
Yeah, thank you very much for your introduction, and I'm very happy to be here for second time. I was here last year, and I have I have shocked when I saw the seas, the development of this city. It is really interesting, and it is really fantastic touristic place. Regarding wheat supply chain in Egypt, let me explain first what is the wheat or bread for Egyptian citizen. The bread, we call the bread in Arabic language Aish Baladi, which is mean in English life.
Life.
So the bread for Egyptian is alive.
And it's one of the main dish of the table, right?
Yes, I mean it is in the daily dietary life in Egypt. It should be in the breakfast, in the lunch, and in the dinner. Yes, that make the people there are more fat. That make a problem of obesity. But yes, I am trying to reduce my bread as much as I can. But yes, that make a problem of.
But it has been the main nourishment since history, right?
Yeah, that's true. But nowadays, because the people, they are working in front of the computer, they are not moving a lot like 30 or 40 years ago. They only in the office. They are not working hardly like my grandfather or my grandfather. They were working in the farmers. They were farmers. They were working hard work, and that make them losing a lot of calories.
Okay, but could you tell us the story of wheat supply chain in Egypt, and what is the current wheat production situation?
Yeah.
Are you the global exporter of the wheat?
Yes, Egypt before 1950 it was was not the importer of wheat, because we were producing a lot of wheat, because that was Egyptian support by the government to give to the farmers, like subsidized prices to the farmers, and that make the farmers gain a lot of money from producing wheat, and make them produce more and more. But nowadays they reduce the production of the wheat because the subsidy is reduced after 1990. That was the government decision that to reduce the farmers subsidies. So the farmers reducing the production of wheat, and nowadays we have a big gap between the production and consumption, and we are
you are importing wheat currently?
Yeah, yes.
From which countries?
Now we are net importers of the wheat from Russia. Most wheat imported from Russia, Ukraine, France, but we are focusing on former Soviet Union countries. So like Russia, Ukraine, Romania, and also from EU, from France or Germany. And also it was before I think 2007, 2008 food crisis. We were imported most of the wheat from US, but because after that the price of the wheat from US increased and more higher than Russia, and Russia yes, because of the I mean the region between Egypt and Russia, it is really close, more closer than Egypt and US.
I would like to ask you, if you have this wheat shortage, is there any government plan proposed to increase the production, or like planning subsidies coming soon to increase the production?
Last year the Egyptian government, they have decided to increase the farmer prices, but it's still not matching the international prices. And the farmers need, of course, to increase the prices, the wheat prices, to gain more money and extend the cultivation area of the wheat. But I mean, that's hurting, of course, the government, let's say, for I mean financial issue, the budget of the government, that hurting a lot the budget of the government. The subsidies, of course.
Okay.
And also we have consumer subsidies, and that also hurting the government. And the government nowadays, they are start reducing the beneficiaries of these subsidies system from the consumer.
Okay, I would like to ask you, what is the substitution to produce wheat? What else the farmers produce?
Let's say the wheat is traditional crop that produced in Egypt, and the farmers not willing to replace the wheat by another crop, because it is like a sham. If you are, if I am a farmer and producing wheat, of course, but only for my family consumption. In Egypt, it is like a sham. If I am farmers and go to the shop to buy a bread or even flour, in urban regions in Egypt, it is like, I mean, the farmers cannot stop producing wheat even for family consumption.
Okay.
Not for selling.
But what else they do to?
But they are reducing the amount that produced before.
Okay.
Because they're not gaining a lot of money, and that it is really costly to produce wheat, and that I mean that the wheat is consuming a lot of nitrogen from the land, that make the land is more poor, and that also reducing the production of the crops following the wheat. That's why the farmers stop producing or reducing producing wheat.
Okay, well, how else they earn their lives if they produce less wheat?
Yeah, the farmers in Egypt, they are now suffering, and most of the farmers, they are stop producing or stop cropping, and they are now become industrial laborers. I mean, they change
they change the labor status.
Yes, yeah. That because they don't earn a lot of money from cultivation crops. But I mean, there is a lot of projects running right now in Egypt to increase the production, not only for wheat or traditional crops, but for vegetables and fruits crops, like green beans, like strawberry, like mango. So they now start producing a new crops instead of traditional crops. We are saying the traditional crops about wheat, sugarcane, corn, rice. So these four crops, they are mainly crops produced. It was the major crops produced in Egypt, but nowadays they are reducing the production of these crops.
And they are replacing them. What about the organic agriculturing? Does Egypt also follow up with that new trend?
Yes, but let's say that the consumers in Egypt, they don't have the affordability to buy such a product, because it is really expensive. For example, in Egypt, if you wanted to go to buy a tomato, it will only cost you 3 or 4 pounds, Egyptian pounds. But if you go to buy organic tomato, it will cost like 30 or 40 pounds.
Oh, okay, almost 10 times more then.
Yes, exactly. Okay. That's why the people don't like to go to organic, because it is very rarely to find organic production, and it is really, really expensive. Mm-hmm. And we don't have, let's say that, a very, very few companies of organic companies produce a right organic productions, mm-hmm. which is don't contain any of fertilizer or any of chemicals. They only, that should be contains some chemicals or.
Also, I'm wondering, is there any structural change in farming? Like, is there any structural change moving from small household farms to more, industrialized and large-size farming in Egypt?
Yes, I involved it in one of projects. It was run in Egypt for 4 years. That to learn the farmers how to extend your region, your land.
Size of the land, or size of the production?
Size of the land, and also the size of the production, by introducing new seed varieties, and learn them to how to produce by training them on modern agriculture methods, let's say like that. And now we were focused on 9,000 farmers, and we are successfully learned those farmers how to produce new crops like vegetables and fruits, and now they are export most of them products to EU, and they are gaining a lot of money from that.
Okay, you are one of the exporter of those fruits and vegetables as a country. And what is the future policies on agriculture? Like, does Egypt plan to become larger exporter of food and vegetables? Is that in the the government targets?
Let me say that from the time of 1990 we have the government decided to stop the subsidies, the farmer subsidies, and they had the freedom to select what they would like to produce, and it was before they forced it to be in rotation. Mm-hmm. Production with different crops. The mainly crops, it was in Nile Delta of Egypt, which is in the north of Egypt. The main crops, it was like rice, corn, and wheat. In the upper Egypt, it was like wheat, sugarcane, and tomato. So, but nowadays the government said, okay, so you can produce whatever you want. We will not force you anymore. So go ahead.
Liberalization of the market.
Yes, exactly, liberalization. So that's one of the farmer problem, because it was before like cooperatives. They collect what the farmer produce, mm-hmm. and then the government give them the money the government
was determined.
They contract the farmers. Okay. They contract the farmers before produce the crops, but as I told you, nowadays they have the freedom to do what they want, and there is no rotation, and they are open to do whatever they want. But the farmers don't. The government don't learn the farmers how to produce or contract with another people. Now the farmers in Egypt suffering from the wholesalers, because the wholesalers, okay, you don't have any outlet except us.
Oh, okay.
So we will force you to give you what
the price
the price we want. Like, for example, tomato. They sell, the wholesalers selling tomato from the farmers by like let's say £1 for the kilograms, and they sell it to the traders by like three or.
And is there no government policies on the price floors?
No, after that, as I told you, we have now liberalization, and go ahead and do whatever you want.
The free market.
Yeah.
Do you think that at the global level can Egyptian products compete against the food giants such as US or Russia? Like.
Yes. What do you mean by restriction?
At the price level, can you reduce the prices at their level?
I mean to export the products.
Export the products.
Yes, we are mainly produce as I told you, green beans or some vegetables and fruits, and they already entering the EU market and US market. But we have a problem. The farmers, they have in their mind, or they have a mentality that if they are using more chemicals, they will get a lot of products, and they will gain more. But when they export these products, yes, exactly, it is not in the standard, and they reject it and return it back to Egypt, and they are losing from these situations.
From that. Okay, since you brought up this topic, I would like to ask you, what about the environmental and climate concerns in agriculture?
Let's say that we don't hurting a lot from the climate change, except the water. We have now a water problem because Ethiopia decided to establish a new dam front of the Nile River. And now the amount of the water we will receive it's more low. We are receiving about 55.5 cubic meters, million cubic meters of water from Nile River, and now the amount is reduced by 30%. That of course
that's a lot, 30%.
Yes, that will affect, of course, negatively the agricultural production in Egypt. But the climate, more or less, it is not that strong in Egypt, because we have like dry weather in Egypt. It is not like here in like Turkey. It is raining most of the time, and in Egypt, no, it's not like that. It is dry in most of the region in Egypt. It is always dry weather, and it is desert weather. It is not.
Okay, and I just would like to ask you, what is the view of current government on agriculture, and all the northern and developed countries turning their head towards more agricultural, like more environment conscious production methods. But what about Egypt? Does Egypt follow up with that new trend of producing, sustainable agricultural products?
Yes, exactly. Fortunately, nowadays the Minister of Agriculture, he was one of my professor when I was in bachelor degree, and he gave me some information, and I'm watching him a lot in the TV, and what his idea to improve the sustainability of agriculture, and how to make the farmers more comfort to produce more of crops. He's starting working with the farmers to contract them again, but not forcing him to rotation system. He just started to contact them and
to determine the market price.
Yeah, to determine the market price, and also they given him some training about how to use less water, and he given a lot of attention about the new grain or new varieties that less consuming water, and of course that it's called drought varieties, which is less consuming water and giving more production.
More production. Is there anything that you would like to say?
Yes, like how to improve the supply chain, for example.
Okay, let me ask you one last question. How Egypt can improve the wheat supply chain?
Yes, the supply chain in Egypt is really sensitive, and as I told you, it is like a sham if the farmers stop producing wheat, even for family consumption. And yes, my ideas to improve this supply chain is the main important thing to learn the farmers how to produce, how to use the water, because the farmers in Egypt they are only flood the water in the land, and that's it, which is really consuming a lot of water, and that make the land losing the nutrition of the land, which is of course affect negatively the wheat production or even any crops production. So we should learn the farmers how to produce, how first to use waters. Second, as I told you, for chemicals use we have very excessive chemicals used, like fertilizer or even pesticide and those chemicals. The farmers using a ton of these chemicals, and these chemicals
it does have long-term effects.
Yeah, and that make a lot of restrictions from EU or US to import the crop production from our crop or any the crops from Egypt. So we need to learn farmers how to use the chemicals, the fertilizers and pesticides. Also. We should learn the farmers how you can serve your land, how to serve your land, when exactly you could harvest your product, your crops.
Okay.
And
so your suggestion is more educated farming.
Yes. Exactly, and also to make a link between, because it is really missing between the research institute and the farmers. The research institute, they are working in the labor. They are not in touch with the farmers. They don't have the ideas about the problems that the farmers faces. Only they are working. They are working in labors and laboratory, and they don't know what the farmers need, and also the farmers don't know what exactly the scientists do, and what for example, when I was working in one of agriculture projects in Egypt. It was about rice, and I learned that the one of research institute, governmental research institute, they just produce a new varieties, and that is not distributed among the farmers. And what we did in this project, we just transfer the information of these new varieties to the farmers, and the farmers start to use these new varieties. And these new varieties, it was really amazing because it is less consuming water by 30% less, and also producing 50% more of rice.
But that's always a concern. Science stays in the labs and most of the time cannot reach the public.
Yeah, they are of course. They are of course spend all the time in the labs, and that of course really this linkage is missing, and my opinion that it should be returned back. I mean,
more connections
more connection between the farmers and scientists. Also, it could be one of things. It could be happen because the U.S. They had a problem of price distributions. We can make like future, market information system. Mm-hmm. We can like that to make the supply chain of the wheat from farmers to wholesaler retailers, or even any supply chain of the, not only wheat but all the crops. More transparency for this supply chain.
More transparency.
Yes. So
the market prices.
Yeah. So this is my idea, to make like future markets like in US, or even market information system. That's it. Yeah.
That's it. Thank you very much, Dr. Osama Ahmed. Today we were together with Dr. Osama Ahmed from Cairo University, and we talked about the wheat production and the future of agricultural production in Egypt. Thank you very much.